Hello there. It's me again. I'll leave. This will be an aside, just for your curiosity or amusement, if you like. If you like being amused by the totally confused being myself, it's like things are finally going my way in this world. Just for this brief period of time. After having almost completely nailing the count one problem. Remember, there are two user assist keys of concern. One is the one I've been looking at. That's this, where everything ends in RKR, which is EXE, and this second list where everything ends in YAX, which is LNK, or link file. Now I have a suspicion that putting the two together might help solve some of the other problems, like how to figure out what all these auto-generated things are, and where they, how things link together. How does a link work? So I started working on it and trying to reuse as much code as possible. This is really pretty much a straight up copy, just as a test of. You can see that these are also 48 bytes, right? So I can assume the same column structure just to begin with, not knowing what the columns are, and it'll run. I know it'll run. Now this is count one items. Now for the columns, I made that a common function. This thing, you pass it a default set of column widths. The first one will be worked out approximately based on the average length of one of the strings. It's not so hard. And now I got these two booleans, columns. There really shouldn't be two variables. There should be one variable. That way it can't have four different states. But anyway, very quickly I just added another boolean because I had one already, columns one created, and if I want to switch from one to another, I'm going to have a second value, at least a 3-value thing. Where's my lighter going? Hang on a sec. Anyway, not important. Here's the thing. I run this thing, and sure enough, it's working great. Like here are a bunch of link files, and I don't know what these numbers mean anymore. I'm sure that that's not focus. It might not have any meaning. But the floating point values certainly are the same, in the same area, and with the same meaning as the other. There happens to be a 1.0 item in this list, and that happens to be virtual dub. Now, so here's my problem. First problem. Well, what do I put in for these icons? What I would like to put for the icon is not a general, icon for a link file, but for the target of the link, right? So I took this as an example. I went all the way, I navigated all the way to this path. I'll do it again. App, roaming, Microsoft, music and start menu, start menu. Now a whole bunch of links here. I just took this one at random, and I tried to just dump it out using debug, and I couldn't do that here because this path is too long. It killed the debug program. So I copied it over to a shorter path and renamed it to an 8.3 name. And here it is. Some link dot link 315, and it turns out that's the same thing. Now what I want to do first, I thought, okay, well, I'll just go online and find out, what the format of a .lnk file is, and then I'll just parse it, right? So silly me. I wasted hours on that. I even downloaded all of the Microsoft technical documentation on all file formats, which includes that one. This is the one I wanted, and here are all the other ones. See, look at all that. If you want to know anything about any file format, like the binary format of any type of file, you can download this zip file from Microsoft called windowsprotocols.zip, which I no longer need. I no longer need this. I copied that. I still have it in there. But I was, after trying and trying to decipher it, and where was I deciphering it? Is it in here? Somewhere I was writing it all down. I don't know where it was. Here. I was going to make, mslink file.h. And here I started out, okay, now the link file starts out with a header, and this is the header they tell you it has, and then here are the flags. Here's the first set of flags, and here I'm writing down all the flags, right? And then there's the attribute flags for the file, and then there's all the different times and blah blah blah. And then I started like dumping the memory out, and it's a weird structure where like half of everything's optional. You don't. It depending on the flags. This might be there or it might not, and so on. It's very complicated. And I thought, God damn, they must have a function. There must be some function that can resolve a shell. One of those shell links, right? And then I remembered, oh yeah, there is such a function. Well, it's not a function. It's that iShellLink com class. I use that in this thing for setting the hotkey. Oh yeah. Well, if that were visible on the desktop, it would use it. And that's called an iShellLink interface, and and I search, and I found it in here. I made a function called find shell link, right, which doesn't use any directory things. It's all through com. Find shell link does it gets an iShell folder, and then it does creates an item list, right, calling enum objects, and then you have to make an imalloc and all this craziness. So that got me a little bit discouraged, because like in this case I knew where it was. I know it's a desktop item, and so I know that. But actually for these things, they're all in standard locations, right? And so it shouldn't be a problem. These should be easy to locate using the special com functions. But I thought, here's this file. There must be some way to get that into one of these iShell link objects, right? And I just hit it by luck, I guess, because I was just going through the header file. Oh, now see, they have an example. If I can find it where they use it. They do sort of the opposite of what I want to do. Let's see now. Is this the example? Yeah. Now here, they're creating a shell link object in an arbitrary location, right? And setting the properties of the thing, and then calling save using something called a persist file interface. And that's again started making me worried. What's a persist file? And I gotta figure out what all that is. And then there's this line, which I could use it, but I decided just for fun and just to be consistent, because maybe I could make a video out of this, that I would use the same method as I did before, and it should work just the same as before. That I don't need to start out with an iShell link. I should be able to start out with an IUnknown and call query interface on an IUnknown to get a shell link. So I did that, and it works. So at least to create one of these things is quite easy, because I know that they give you the class ID of a shell link. I didn't know it. I didn't know that it was listed somewhere. And I chose IUnknown, and that succeeds. And then I query interface on that for a iShell link, and that succeeds. So I release the unknown object, and I should set it to null. I think I have a macro. Well, I'll make a macro, release null or something. And then it just suddenly, either it occurred to me or I read it somewhere or something, that an iShell link is might anyway have one of those file interfaces in it, a persist file, right? Like it may support the iPersist file interface. This interface, which is thing that allows you to deal with ordinary files at any location, not in a special folder or with a special identifier or whatever. Okay, so I tried it. I tried query interface on my iShell link for an iPersist file interface. And lo and behold, it succeeds, believe it or not. Now a persist file, again, this is just a regular old file. Alright, it's going to change color. I quit this. I want to have that thing show up now in a nice color. And this thing, well, the help file is easier to look at than this. Well, you can see there's not that many functions. Load, save, is dirty. It has a couple of functions and includes this iPersist, which has nothing. Okay, so it has load, and that's all I wanted. I want to load that file, this one I know the path of, some link, into my persist file object, which also happens to be an iShell link. And so therefore I can now query things about this file as though it were an iShell link. This load would succeed for any file, right? But these functions would fail if it was the wrong format. But I know this is the right format. And one of the functions for a shell link is getPath. And getPath is the target path of the link. Now, I don't know what flag is best to use here. Raw path name, something that might not exist and may include environment variables. Well, that's okay. I can expand environment variables. I could try and see what these things return. What's a UNC path? Let's see. Well, I'll do all of them. Short path is the 8.3 and UNC is Universal Naming Convention, which I imagine is something like a URL type name. I just randomly chose a size. I'm not sure how you get the size, but maybe what is this? Returns in H result. Int cat. What if it's no error successful? Standard error value. There must be a standard error code for insufficient buffer or something like that, right? And it also returns to you one of those find data type things, and that will give you all the attributes and its file size if you really want it. I don't care. So let's see what this does. Oh, wrong program. I'll quit after this. And now that I've got this, I can do the count twos pretty easily. At least those little icons. That's the 8.3. That's the UNC, which looks correct, right? So maybe that's the one I should use. And raw turns out to be the same. But they don't, it sounds like they discourage using raw. I don't know what this universal naming convention is. Anybody know? We'll find out, and that'll be it. This I'll just put as an aside. And I'll start working on the count 2 bit. Oh, I see. So it may come. Wait a minute. What's this table? I mean, I have no problem with that. These are the paths that I usually specify. You have to specify if a file name is longer than the max path, and it has to be wide character. Anyway, that's something I can sort out easy. The only cases that there are in Windows, and in my case, all of the paths are going to be, and they always are for this thing, fully qualified paths. And that's probably true inside. I know these things can have relative paths inside of them, but I don't think these will. They can have a relative path, but the path returned by this will not be a relative path. It will, even if it has environment variables or something, in the end it will be a fully qualified path. It has to be, or else these links are no good. Right? They can't be relative paths, or you can't copy those links around. You definitely can't copy one from one machine to another. They're not. I don't think they're meant to be able to do that. And do I care? No. What I care about is the fact that this works. And the other thing too that this I shall link has is hotkey icon location. See, that would tell me the icon location of the target. So that if the target is whatever is some program, that doesn't necessarily mean it gets its icon from there. It may get its icon from somewhere else. So that would be what I would put for the icon. And there's working directory, some description stuff or whatever. Okay, so just thought I'd let you know that things are speeding along and almost done. See you.